Welcome, everybody, to the It's Never Too Late show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a life and love transformational coach at Your Next Amazing Story. I'm so excited because we have a very special guest today, Iris Benrubi, and she's a dating and relationship coach. And today we're talking about it's never too late to find love again. So welcome, Iris. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me on, Suzanne.
Yeah, so before we jump into your story, I would love for you to share with the ladies, how did you become a dating and relationship coach?
Well, I started off, I still am. I'm a psychotherapist, I'm a marriage counselor, so I know a lot of what it takes to make a relationship work. And then I ended up in the dating world and I was struggling and I had to actually learn these strategies to meet the man of my dreams. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to teach this to other women because I struggled for over a decade. And I thought, had I known these strategies early on, I would have been in that relationship a lot earlier, a healthy one.
So, Iris, that's interesting. So, 10 years is a long time, right? And so, what made you keep going? How did it start out when you got back out there and started dating? Because I'm sure it wasn't easy.
Yeah, so let me start that I was married to the man I was sure was my soulmate. We were married for 18 years, and I vowed when we got married I was going to be one of that 50% that made it right to the end. And when it didn't, and I ended up divorced, I went through a couple years of soul searching. Who am I? I'm not a wife anymore. I'm only a part-time mom. What do I do? How do I fit in? How do I start dating now in my 40s? Because I got divorced, separated, early 40s. And then I thought, okay, this is what I want. I'm going to go out there and do it. And I went through more unhealthy relationships than I care to admit. But what kept me going is my commitment to learning. And so I got myself a coach and I did my therapy to look at what are those things for me. I had a really high tolerance level for bad behavior. I allowed things to happen, even though I addressed them and they didn't change, and I allowed myself to stay in relationship. And so I really had to work on what is it that had me tolerate so much and suppress my needs. It's what I call pretzeling myself to make myself be picked. Please pick me. If you pick me, I'll make it work. I'll be a good girl. And I really needed to shift that whole mindset. And what I teach my women now is to be the buyer. You're the one that's looking to see, can he fit into my life and give me what I need? And I know that we've talked about this. I talk about groceries. You go to the grocery store and you look at expiry dates and you look to see if an apple has any bruises before you invest in it. And as women, we spend more time on our groceries than we do deciding if we should get into a relationship.
That is so true. I love that. It kind of makes everyone kind of go, "Oh yeah, I kind of do spend more time on that," right?
Sometimes we have some beliefs. We have a mindset of like, oh, I'm getting too old, or at least he likes me with my weight. Maybe nobody else is going to pick me. And the sense of desperation, the older we get, the harder it is. And all of those are just beliefs that keep you stuck and keep you safe. So it's really about getting clear on what keeps you stuck and what was keeping me stuck, getting past that. And at 59, I met the man of my dreams. I'm living with him now. We've been together for 2 years, and it's magnificent. So if nothing else from this interview, I would love whoever's listening just to hear that it's possible.
Oh, I love that. Well, and I do want to talk about your relationship with Wayne, but I want to ask you, because it's interesting, you brought up a point about how sometimes women could say, I'm too old, which I never believe a woman is too old, or, I need to lose weight. So when you were going through the dating process, did you think any of those things about yourself?
Yes, I've always been an overweight athlete. It didn't matter. I was still doing stuff, but I always knew that I didn't fit into what society thought should be this, perfect size 4 or 6. And there was always this feeling of like, oh, is he going to see me and walk away? Is anybody going to like my picture? Because I made sure to put a full body profile because I didn't want to get rejected when I met him. But there was always this background conversation of, am I enough? Mine happened to be weight. Women have all kinds of stories because we live in a very commercial society, the bigger, better, more, where you're at is not enough. And so we all carry some version of, what about this about me? Is he going to want it? So yeah, I did carry I'm overweight, you're fit, and I love to be active. So I wanted a man who was active. How is my weight going to fit into this? Was he going to accept me?
So how did you shift that? Because was it just about shifting in that you loved and accepted your own body and self? Or did you actually lose the weight? Because I find sometimes women will say to me, Suzanne, I just need to lose 10 pounds and then I'm ready to date.
I think it's a combination of three things. One, over time I lost weight. It didn't happen right away. Two, I started to get evidence from men that they actually liked me, body and all. And three, I really had to own that who I am, the way I am, is good enough. So it was a combination of all three. I was really committed to losing the weight, whether it was a relationship or not. It's a lot easier to be active and fit when you've lost the weight. But on top of that, I got evidence. I didn't stop myself from dating just because I had a conversation in my head. And three, I really had to do the work to really get, you know what, I have all of this to offer a man. This is a pretty good package. And once I owned that, I actually met a man who thought it was a great package.
Oh, I love that. So what would you say to the woman that says, okay, I get that, Iris, but, I'm terrified of rejection. And what if I go out on a date with a man and he doesn't like me for whatever reason? I'm just too afraid to put myself out there and get rejected.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that I would say. Like if you went out with a man and you decided that you didn't have enough things in common with him to go out, are you actually rejecting him? Or are you just making a decision for yourself that there's not enough common stuff? So when you get afraid of rejection, you're personalizing things. It's not about you. He's actually looking for what we actually do when we're out there. We're replicating something we had from our childhood. So if you're not a match for him, you're not a replication of either his mother or his father. We actually do that. And we don't do that because we want to sabotage or hurt ourselves, but because we're still trying to heal the wounds we have from childhood. That's very, deep and psychological. But if you look at your past history, you'll see that the people you picked as partners replicated some kind of wound you had from your history. So if you want to change what I call the relationship blueprint, you want to do some work on that. Heal those things from childhood so that you're not replicating it in your adulthood. And if you pick a healthy man, you can actually heal it in a healthy partnership, both of you together.
So let's just, and I love that you said that. So what would you say? Because I don't believe anyone is 100% healthy, us or men. So what would you say to the woman that says, Iris, I met a great man, but there's X, Y, and Z that I think I could fix. And then he'd be perfect. So should I keep dating him? What would you say to that?
So I'm very familiar with that one. I'm a psychotherapist. I figure I can fix everything. And I went out with lots of men that I thought I could fix and give them strategies and explain to them. If they don't want to change, it doesn't matter what you do. And it's not your job to be their therapist or their mommy. If they want to work on something, let them find somebody outside of you. But you need to be prepared to accept the man the way he is. And I call it a SWIFT, with his strengths, his weaknesses, his insecurities, his fears, and his perceived failures. In the same way you want him to accept you just the way you are, not as a fixer-upper.
Yeah, we don't want a fixer-upper. It's true. It's just like how you would want a man to accept you and not try to change you. That's what a man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to fix someone, especially if they don't want to.
Well, yeah, because then you're going to run up against resistance, right?
Yeah.
So I know you talked about that for 10 years, a decade, you were dating, and that's a long time, right? And you were in relationships that weren't good for you or didn't work. And at what point did you finally say, this isn't working? I need to get help, because you mentioned you worked with a coach. And I think a lot of people might be surprised by that, because they're like, wait, you're a psychotherapist and you're a coach yourself. Why would you need a coach?
Yeah, because really what a coach does is help you see the things you can't see about yourself. right?
Yes.
You know how your friends will say, have you noticed that you're doing this? Or, you tend to say this all the time. And it's like, oh, I didn't even notice that. Like, I'll give you an example. One of my clients said to me, my boyfriend broke up with me and he didn't talk to me for a week. And then when we started to talk again, I said to him, that's not normal to not talk to me for a week. A day or two, fine. And I said, isn't it interesting that you think not talking to you for a day or two is fine? And she went, oh, so I helped her see the things that she had learned in childhood are okay, that weren't really okay. And I needed a coach to reflect back to me some of the beliefs, some of the behaviors, some of the tolerances, some of the things I was tolerating that I needed to have a second look at. Did I really deserve better? What's my responsibility and what's his responsibility? And when I was able to shift how I looked at things, I ended up with the man of my dreams.
So I'm sorry, did you say at what point you got a coach? Was it like year 8 into this or 9?
Yeah. It was late in the game.
Okay.
I figured I was a therapist. I knew a lot of the stuff. I was working on myself. I was working on them. And it wasn't working because I wasn't getting the coaching piece, right? The dating.
And so then when you worked with your coach, it sounds like it happened rather quickly. Is that true?
It did, because I actually got the strategies to shortcut the whole system so that I didn't keep going out with men that weren't healthy. I could easily tell at the beginning whether a man's emotionally available and if he could make me happy. I got clear on what I wanted. What were my values? What were my needs? When did I need to cut and run? And when should I give it a second chance? There's so many of these strategies that make a lot of sense. And when you learn them, it just makes dating so much easier and so much more fun.
Yeah. So let's talk about Wayne, your partner, because I personally know he's amazing, even though I've never met him, because you and I are connected on Facebook. And I know whenever you travel, you'll come home and you'll post these pictures of him standing at the airport with signs, flowers, or dressed up as something to welcome you home. And I love that you guys have this beautiful relationship and that he's like a little boy, so excited to see you. And that must feel so good to you. So how did you meet him?
I actually met him online. I was the first one that reached out. I saw his profile. I sent him 2 sentences. I love your zest for life, and I have the same 2 love languages. He looked at my profile. He sent me back an essay, 12 short points connecting what I had in my profile and my pictures that connected to where he was in his life and what he wanted and where he wanted to go. And so that we had so much in common. And the rest is history.
Wow. So, and like, at what point when you started dating him, did you both agree to be exclusive and say, I don't want to date anyone else?
Actually, within a month, I'd already met his family. We already knew that it was so easy and so many of our values meshed that we already knew within a month. And of course, you keep your eyes open. Hopefully, he kept his eyes open to look for things. But it was easy. It wasn't pulling teeth. It wasn't trying to, it's okay, I can live with this. It was a good man, a man who really wanted to help me, support me, he'll tell you this. On our second date, we went running. I was training for a triathlon at the time, and I was really struggling. He happens to be a dating coach, right? So there's a meeting there, and I was running, and I couldn't go any faster, and I just stopped, and I cried. And he just put his arms around me, and he held me. He didn't need to fix me. He didn't tell me I was wrong. Just keep running. He could just be there with me. And he does that a lot for me. When I'm struggling, he just puts his arms around me and I can go, okay, on we go.
I love that. So see, this is interesting. I didn't know he was a dating coach. So this.
Sorry, he's a running coach. Did I say dating coach?
Yeah.
Sorry, he's a running coach, and I was training for a triathlon, so it fit really well so he could help me train.
Maybe I heard it wrong. Okay, so that's interesting, though, because you both still have that coaching mentality. And so do you feel like that makes him a better partner for you because he has that coaching mentality, whether it's in dating or running?
Yeah, totally. So he knows how to support, he knows how to listen, and he knows how to be there for me, and really talks about his personality and that he wants to make me happy. He hears what I need and he either does it or he makes it happen. His commitment is to me.
I love that. So, Iris, I know you talked about earlier about how before you would attract these emotionally unavailable men or men that it just didn't work in the relationship. So, I would love for you to share with the ladies what shifted in your list of what you got clear in and what you needed in a man that Wayne has.
I think one of the big shifts for me was to shift how I was viewing the four things that I knew were wrong with me. I was too sensitive. I was told that my whole life. My mother used to tell me I'm too much of an open book. And she meant it from a place of loving me and not wanting me to get hurt by others. But I remember hearing that going, oh, how else should I be? And I didn't know how to be anything else. So I knew there was something wrong. I'm too passionate and I'm too intense. When I could really own what a gift those four things were, my sense of value for myself, like for me to be an open book with my partner, he never has to guess or read between the lines. He always knows where I'm at, good, bad, in between. My passion, my intensity, my sensitivity, those are all gifts to the relationship. When I could own that, I really got that I deserve a good man. I don't have to settle. When I felt like there were like these things over here that weren't so good in the shadow, I didn't want people to see. One, I didn't show up as myself. I kept that part hidden. And so the guy got to fall in love with my persona, and I kept having to have that part hidden. And once I owned that, I got to just be me, and whoever fell in love with me got to fall in love with the whole package.
I love that you said that. So, what would you say to the woman that shows up on the first couple of dates with the man and she's afraid to be herself because she's afraid that he won't like her? Because I have clients that will say that. They're like, I'm afraid to say this or do this because what if he doesn't like me? And I'm like, show up as your true authentic self and the best version of yourself.
Yeah, so I tell women that, 90% of men out there, assuming it's a straight woman, 90% of men out there are not a match for you. Your job is to filter and screen. And if he doesn't like something about you, great, because you're getting closer to that 10%. You want a man who loves you for all of your things. Listen, we all have stuff we need to work on, that we need to shift a little bit, but that doesn't love you despite your quirks, but because of your quirks. Just think about the freedom you have when someone loves you just the way you are. I can just feel my shoulders relax, my chest open up. There's a whole freedom in someone loving you the way you are, and the two of you keep working on the relationship to allow it to keep evolving and growing.
Yes, that's so true. So, Iris, what do you think is the biggest mistake that women make in midlife when they're trying to meet the right man, and how can they shift that?
Just one?
Yeah, well, I would like to do a lot more, but we only have time for one.
I think the biggest mistake they make is to keep picking the same kind of man or keeping them off dating because they know they have a type that historically hasn't worked for them, and for them to do the work to change their type, which I talked about earlier, it's your blueprint from childhood, because what that does is it has you be attracted to different kinds of men, and different types of men are attracted to you. Because one of the things that we know from our childhood is a lot of people have fighting and drama confused with passion. So here you meet a great man, you have a lot to talk about, but there's no chemistry. But that's because of your childhood and the chaos that you grew up with emotionally. Once you manage that, you can meet a man that's not chaos but loves you deeply. That's what's available.
That is so true. It's so funny when women say to me, he's my type. And I'm like, okay, if he's been your type for 20, 30 years, that type, and it's still not working, how's that working for you? It's like you get to shift that and start going. What I always say is, this is interesting because people will ask me, what's your type? And I'm like, I have two different types. There's the type I like to look at when I'm attracted to, but I know that's not the good relationship material. And then there's the type that I know is good relationship material.
Very
So,
good. I like that because it's really about getting clear of what's my natural inclination, which is often an overcompensation for childhood. A lot of women like the bad boys because they were restricted in their childhood and it gives them a chance to overcompensate, but they're not good relationship material. And what makes, and a lot of women don't know, what are the qualities of a healthy man? What are the qualities of a healthy relationship? What does good communication actually mean? What does emotionally available actually mean? And so I love that, we touched on that so that you can get a sense of what you're looking for. Because my partner Wayne said last year, when you don't know what you're looking for, anyone will do. And I thought, brilliant. Like, I love that and I'm going to use it. We need to get clear on what we're looking for, what can make us happy, what are our values, so that it's easy for us to filter out there.
that is so true. Oh my God, I love what Wayne said. That is brilliant. Well, this has been amazing. So, Iris, how can the ladies find you?
Yes, they can go to foreverlovecoaching.com. I have an opportunity for you to take a love quiz. Just look for the tab. It's a 10 question. You'll get your answers on the spot and you'll get to see how you approach love and get some information back on that.
Awesome. So, ladies, go get that. This was amazing, Iris. Thank you so much for being a part of this show.
Well, thank you for having me on and the difference your podcast makes.
Awesome. So thanks, ladies, for joining us on the It's Never Too Late show. Our show is available both in audio format and video format, which can both be found at yournextamazingstory.com.